The phone buzzing at 2:17 a.m. wasn't what woke Destiny Rivers from her restless sleep. It was the sound of her husband Harold whispering sweet words she hadn't heard him say to her in months. Words like baby, and I can't wait to see you. Words that made her stomach drop to the floor as she realized he was talking to someone else while lying right next to her in their bed. Yeah, she's asleep, Harold whispered into his phone, his back turned to Destiny. She never checks the business accounts anyway. Too busy with her little bookkeeping clients to notice what's really going on. Destiny's heart hammered against her ribs. Her hands trembled as she kept her breathing steady, pretending to sleep while her world crumbled around her. 12 years of marriage. 12 years of building a life together. 12 years of her secretly managing every single financial decision that made his construction business successful, and he thought she was just some small-time bookkeeper who didn't pay attention. Candace, baby, once I get rid of her, we can live the life we deserve, Harold continued. The business is doing great and she'll never know how much money we really have. I've been moving cash to accounts she doesn't know about. The name hit Destiny like a physical blow. Candace. The young woman from the coffee shop near Harold's office. The one who always smiled too bright when Harold stopped by. The one Destiny had actually felt sorry for because she seemed to struggle financially. She built this business with me, but she's too stupid to realize it, Harold said with a cruel laugh. All those late nights she thought I was working? Half the time I was with you. The other half I was moving our money around. She does all the real work, figures out the tax stuff, handles the complicated contracts, but she thinks she's just helping out. When I divorce her, she'll get nothing. Destiny's breath caught. She had been the one staying up until 3 a.m. working through complex building permits. She had been the one who figured out how to save Harold's business when it almost went under 3 years ago. She had been the one who built relationships with suppliers, negotiated better deals, and even designed the bidding strategy that won them their biggest contracts. Every success Harold bragged about to his friends, every dollar in their accounts, every business connection that mattered, it all came from her mind, her work, her sleepless nights. But she had let him take the credit because she loved him and wanted him to feel proud. Now she understood the truth. Harold saw her as nothing more than free labor. Unpaid help he could discard once he'd taken everything she'd built. My lawyer says we can claim she never really contributed to the business, Harold whispered. Just a wife helping out occasionally. She signed papers putting everything in my name because she trusted me. The papers. Destiny remembered signing them 2 years ago. Harold had said it was for tax purposes to protect them both. She had trusted him completely. Yeah, I moved another $50,000 yesterday, Harold continued. She'll never find it. By the time we're done, she'll be lucky if she can afford an apartment. Destiny thought about their daughter Grace, sleeping peacefully in her room down the hall. Grace, who loved her daddy and had no idea that he was planning to destroy their family. Grace, who would ask why mommy looked so sad, why daddy didn't live with them anymore, why they had to move to a smaller house. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal. The worst part was realizing that Harold had never seen her as an equal partner. Despite building his entire business success, despite sacrificing her own career dreams to support his, despite being the brain behind every major decision, he saw her as nothing. Don't worry, Candace, Harold whispered. In 6 months it'll just be us. She'll never know what hit her. As Harold finally hung up and settled back into bed, Destiny stared at the ceiling in the dark. Tears rolled silently down her cheeks, but behind the pain, something else was growing. Something Harold had seriously underestimated. He thought she was just some small-town bookkeeper who didn't understand business. He thought she was too trusting, too simple, too focused on her little clients to see the big picture. What Harold didn't know was that Destiny Rivers had a master's degree in business and accounting from Howard University. What he didn't know was that her little clients included 3 of the biggest construction companies in the state, companies she'd helped grow from nothing. What he didn't know was that every single business move he thought he'd made alone had actually been carefully planned and executed by her. And what Harold definitely didn't know was that Destiny had copies of everything. Every contract, every financial record, every business decision, every tax document. Because the careful, detail-oriented mind that had built his success had also been quietly protecting herself all along. She had never checked the business accounts. She had created systems to monitor every single transaction. She had been watching Harold move money for months, documenting everything, wondering why he was being so secretive. Now she knew. As Harold's breathing settled into the rhythm of sleep beside her, Destiny Rivers began to plan. She had built one business empire for a man who didn't respect her. Now it was time to build her own. But first she was going to make sure Harold learned exactly who he'd been dealing with all these years. The woman he thought was too simple to notice his betrayal was about to show him just how wrong he could be. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of Destiny waking up every morning next to a man who smiled at her while planning to destroy her life. 3 weeks of watching him kiss Grace goodbye before school, knowing he was willing to break their daughter's heart for his own selfish desires. 3 weeks of Harold acting like the loving husband while texting his mistress right in front of her. But Destiny wasn't sitting still. Every morning after Harold left for work, she drove to her real office, the one Harold had no idea existed. For the past 2 years, while Harold thought she was just doing small bookkeeping jobs from their kitchen table, Destiny had actually been running Rivers Financial Consulting from a suite downtown. "Morning, Mrs. Rivers," called Patricia, her assistant, as Destiny walked through the glass doors. "Mr. Chin from Pacific Construction called again. He wants to set up that meeting about expanding their East Coast operations." Destiny nodded, pouring herself coffee. Pacific Construction was one of her biggest clients, and Harold had no clue she was the financial brain behind their rapid growth. Just like he had no clue about her other major clients, or the fact that her little bookkeeping business was actually generating more revenue than his construction company. "Patricia, I need you to pull all of Harold's business files," Destiny said, settling at her desk. "Every contract we've worked on, every strategy document, every financial projection. Put it all together." Patricia's eyes widened. Everyone in the office knew Harold was Destiny's husband, though none of them had ever met him. They just knew that Mrs. Rivers occasionally took calls about construction projects at home. "Ma'am, is everything okay?" Destiny had spent 3 weeks crying in private, but she was done with tears. "It will be. I also need you to call James Mitchell. Tell him I need to meet with him today." James Mitchell was the best business lawyer in the state. He was also someone who owed Destiny a huge favor. She'd saved his construction company from bankruptcy 5 years ago, back when he was just starting his law practice and trying to flip houses on the side. An hour later, James sat across from Destiny's desk, reviewing the documents she'd spread before him. His face grew more shocked with each page. "Destiny, this is incredible," he said finally. "You've been documenting everything. Every financial transfer, every business decision, every contract negotiation. This is a complete paper trail showing that you've been the real force behind Harold's business for years." "He thinks I don't notice things," Destiny said quietly. "He thinks I'm too simple to understand business. But James, I've been protecting myself this whole time just in case. I never thought he'd actually—" Her voice broke slightly, but she gathered herself. Grace was depending on her to be strong. "He's been moving money to hidden accounts," she continued. "He's planning to divorce me and claims I never contributed to the business. He wants to leave me with nothing." James shook his head in amazement. "Destiny, based on these documents, you haven't just contributed to the business. You are the business. Harold's been taking credit for your work this entire time." That afternoon, Destiny drove to Grace's school to pick her up early. She needed to prepare her daughter for what was coming, but she wasn't sure how to explain that Daddy wasn't the man they thought he was. Grace bounced into the car, her backpack covered with butterfly pins that Destiny had bought her last month. At 8 years old, Grace was smart and observant, but still young enough to believe that parents were safe harbors who would never let anything bad happen. "Mama, why do you look sad lately?" Grace asked as they drove home. "Did I do something wrong?" Destiny's heart ached. "No, baby girl. You are perfect just the way you are. Mama's just dealing with some grown-up problems." "Is Daddy in trouble?" Sometimes Grace's ability to sense things scared Destiny. "What makes you ask that?" "He keeps getting phone calls that make him smile different," Grace said. "Not like when you call him. And yesterday I heard him telling someone on the phone that we might have to move houses." Destiny pulled into their driveway and turned to face her daughter. Grace had Harold's warm brown eyes but Destiny's determined chin. Looking at her, Destiny felt a fierce protective energy rise up from somewhere deep inside her chest. "Grace, do you trust Mama?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then I need you to know that no matter what happens, Mama is going to take care of us. Things might change, but we're going to be okay. More than okay. We're going to be better than we've ever been." Grace studied her mother's face with the serious expression she got when she was working through a difficult math problem. "Are you and Daddy getting divorced?" The directness of the question caught Destiny off guard, but she realized she owed her daughter honesty. "I don't know yet, baby. But if we do, it's not because of anything you did. And it doesn't mean Daddy doesn't love you. But he might not love you anymore?" Destiny chose her words carefully. "Sometimes people change, Grace. Sometimes they forget what's really important. But that doesn't change how much I love you, or how hard I'm going to work to make sure you have everything you need. That evening Harold came home with flowers, something he hadn't done in months. He was trying too hard, being too cheerful, asking too many questions about Destiny's day. It was clear he was feeling guilty about something. "Hey baby," he said, kissing Destiny's cheek while she prepared dinner. "These are for you. Just because." The flowers were beautiful, but they felt like an insult. Harold was giving her grocery store roses while planning to steal her life's work and abandon their family. "How was your day?" Destiny asked, keeping her voice normal. "Great. Really great. That new housing development project is moving fast. We might make even more money than I projected." Destiny almost laughed. The housing development project had been her idea. She'd identified the opportunity, researched the market, developed the financial projections, and even helped Harold prepare his presentation to the investors. But in his mind it was all his success. "That's wonderful," she said. "Grace has a school program next Thursday. Will you be able to make it?" Harold hesitated for just a second too long. "Of course. I wouldn't miss it." But Destiny knew he was lying. She'd overheard him making plans to take Candace to a resort that same weekend. He was going to miss their daughter's school program to play house with his mistress. After Grace went to bed, Harold settled on the couch with his laptop, supposedly working on business emails. But Destiny could see the reflection in the window behind him. He was texting someone, and from his smile, it wasn't about work. "Harold," Destiny said, sitting beside him. "We should talk about our finances. Maybe plan for Grace's college fund." Harold's smile faded slightly. "Don't worry about that stuff, Destiny. I got it handled. You focus on your little client work." Her little client work. The client work that was secretly out-earning his construction business. The client work that required advanced degrees and skills Harold didn't even know she possessed. "I just thought maybe we could go over the business accounts together," Destiny pressed. "I could help you organize things better." "Nah, baby. Business stuff is complicated. You wouldn't understand all the construction industry details." This from a man who couldn't read a financial statement without her help. A man who still didn't understand the tax implications of the business structure she'd set up for him. A man who thought profit margins were something you measured with a ruler. "Okay," Destiny said softly. "I trust you." The words nearly choked her, but Harold's satisfied smile told her everything she needed to know. He really believed she was that naive. He really thought he could steal years of her work and she'd never figure it out. As Harold went back to texting his mistress, Destiny went upstairs to check on Grace. Her daughter was sleeping peacefully, clutching the stuffed elephant Destiny had bought her during their last family trip to the zoo. Standing in Grace's doorway, Destiny made a silent promise. Harold could underestimate her all he wanted. Candace could think she was winning some prize. But they had no idea what they were really dealing with. The woman Harold thought was too simple to understand business had just finished securing funding for a major expansion of her consulting firm. The woman he thought was too trusting to notice his lies had been building her own empire while he played his games. And tomorrow, the woman he thought he could throw away was going to start showing them both exactly what a mistake they'd made. Harold and Candace thought they'd won. They had no idea the game was just beginning. Sunday morning arrived gray and cold, matching Destiny's mood as she sat in Mount Olive Baptist Church next to Harold and Grace. Pastor Williams was speaking about trust and faithfulness, and Destiny had to grip her purse handles to keep from laughing bitterly. Harold sat beside her, checking his phone every few minutes. Even in church he couldn't stop texting Candace. "Mama," Grace whispered during the service, "why does Daddy keep looking at his phone?" Pastor Williams said phones should be quiet during worship. Before Destiny could answer, Harold's phone buzzed loudly. The woman sitting in front of them turned around with an annoyed look. Harold fumbled to silence it, but not before Destiny saw the message preview on his lock screen. "Can't wait for our trip this weekend. Love you so much. Candace." Grace saw it too. Destiny watched her daughter's face change as she tried to understand why someone named Candace was telling her daddy she loved him. After church, Elder Thompson approached their family in the parking lot. Elder Thompson had been like a grandfather to Grace since she was born, and he had a way of seeing things that others missed. "Harold, son," Elder Thompson said, his weathered hand resting on Harold's shoulder. "How's business treating you?" "Great, Elder Thompson," Harold replied, puffing up with pride. "Really great. I'm thinking about expanding, maybe buying some new equipment." Elder Thompson nodded slowly, then turned to Destiny. "And Sister Rivers, how are your own business ventures going?" Harold looked confused. "Destiny doesn't have business ventures, Elder Thompson. She just does some bookkeeping from home." The old man's eyebrows raised slightly. Is that so? He looked directly at Destiny. Well, I was speaking with my nephew Marcus last week. He works for Pacific Construction over in Atlanta. Funny thing, he kept talking about this brilliant financial consultant they hired. Said she turned their whole company around. Woman named Rivers, he said. Destiny Rivers. The color drained from Harold's face. Destiny felt her pulse quicken, but she kept her expression calm. He said this Mrs. Rivers is some kind of genius, Elder Thompson continued, his voice carrying that particular tone older black men used when they knew someone was about to learn an important lesson. Said she's got 3 big construction companies as clients, and she's made them all more money than they'd ever seen. Harold stared at Destiny like he was seeing her for the first time. Destiny? What is he talking about? Elder Thompson chuckled. Son, it sounds like you don't know your own wife as well as you think you do. Grace tugged on Destiny's hand. Mama, are you famous? Destiny knelt down to Grace's level. No baby, I'm not famous. But Mama has been working very hard to make sure we always have what we need. That evening Harold cornered Destiny in their bedroom. His face was a mixture of confusion and anger. What was Elder Thompson talking about today? Do you have clients I don't know about? Destiny sat on their bed watching Harold pace back and forth. For 12 years she'd protected his ego by downplaying her own intelligence and success. She'd let him believe he was the smart one, the business owner, the provider. But those days were over. Harold, sit down. Don't tell me to sit down. I want to know what's going on. Sit down. Something in her voice made Harold stop pacing. He sat in the chair by their window, his hands gripping the armrests. You want to know about my business? Destiny asked calmly. Rivers Financial Consulting has been operating for 2 years. We have offices downtown and 12 employees. Our annual revenue last year was $2.3 million. Harold's mouth fell open. That's impossible. Pacific Construction, Bennett Building Group, and Morrison Development are my 3 main clients, Destiny continued. I also handle financial consulting for 18 smaller companies. The work I do from our kitchen table? That's just overflow. Small stuff I can handle while making dinner. You're lying. Destiny pulled out her phone and showed Harold her business website. His picture was still in her wallet, but she'd learned to see him clearly now. The man staring at her screen looked nothing like the partner she'd thought she married. Every major decision you've made for your business came from me, she said quietly. Every bid strategy, every financial projection, every tax solution. That housing development deal you're so proud of? I spent 6 weeks researching that market and building your presentation. Harold's face went through several emotions: shock, disbelief, and finally anger. Why didn't you tell me? Because I loved you, Destiny said simply. Because I wanted you to feel successful and proud. Because I thought we were partners building something together. We are partners. Destiny looked at him steadily. Partners don't lie to each other, Harold. Partners don't steal from each other. Partners don't plan to abandon their families for someone else. Harold went very still. What are you talking about? Candace Stone, 28 years old. Works at Sunrise Coffee on 5th Street. You've been seeing her for 8 months. The blood drained from Harold's face. Destiny, I can explain. You've been moving money to accounts I don't know about, she continued. You've been planning to divorce me and claim I never contributed to the business. You think I'm too stupid to notice. Harold stood up, his hands shaking. How do you? Who told you? Harold, I know about the account at First National. I know about the safety deposit box at Citizens Bank. I know about the apartment you rented for Candace on Maple Street. I know everything. For a moment, Harold just stared at her. Then his expression changed to something ugly. So what? You think you're so smart? You think you can threaten me? I'm not threatening you, Destiny said calmly. I'm just letting you know that the woman you thought was too simple to see what was happening has been 10 steps ahead of you this entire time. You can't prove anything. Destiny reached into her nightstand and pulled out a thick folder. Financial records going back 5 years. Documented proof of my contributions to your business. Audio recordings of your phone calls. Photos of you with Candace. Bank statements showing the money transfers. Harold's face went pale. You recorded my phone calls? Harold, I'm a financial consultant. I deal with business fraud cases all the time. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize the signs when they showed up in my own marriage? The fight seemed to drain out of Harold all at once. He slumped back in his chair, his head in his hands. Destiny, please. We can work this out. We could have worked it out 8 months ago before you started lying to me. We could have worked it out 3 weeks ago before I heard you planning to destroy our family. I never meant for you to get hurt. You meant for me to lose everything I'd worked for, Destiny said. You meant for Grace to grow up thinking her father abandoned her for another woman. You meant for me to struggle financially while you lived comfortably with your mistress. Harold looked up at her, tears in his eyes. I made a mistake. You made a choice, Destiny corrected. Multiple choices. Every day for 8 months you chose to lie to me. You chose to steal from our family. You chose to plan our destruction. Grace's voice came from the doorway. Mama? Daddy? Why are you fighting? Both parents turned toward their daughter, who stood in her pajamas holding her stuffed elephant, her dark eyes wide with worry. Destiny's heart broke seeing Grace's scared expression. This was exactly what she'd wanted to avoid. Come here, baby girl, Destiny said, opening her arms. Grace ran to her mother, and Destiny held her close, breathing in the smell of the coconut oil she used in Grace's hair each morning. Are you and Daddy getting divorced? Grace asked in a small voice. Destiny looked at Harold over their daughter's head. He was crying now, finally understanding what his choices were going to cost him. Grace, Destiny said gently, Daddy and I need to have some grown-up conversations about our family. But no matter what happens, both of us love you more than anything in the world. Will I still live here? You'll live wherever Mama lives, Destiny said firmly. And Mama's going to make sure we have a beautiful home and everything we need. Harold wiped his eyes. Destiny, please. Don't take Grace away from me. I'm not taking Grace anywhere, Destiny replied. You're the one who chose to leave. But Grace will always know her father, and she'll always know that both her parents love her. Grace looked between her parents, trying to understand the adult world that was suddenly changing around her. Will we still be a family? Destiny kissed the top of Grace's head. We'll always be your family, baby. Just maybe a different kind of family than before. As Grace went back to her room, Harold and Destiny sat in their bedroom, surrounded by the evidence of his betrayal and her secret success. The comfortable life they'd built together was ending, but something new was about to begin. What happens now? Harold asked quietly. Destiny looked at the man she'd loved for 12 years. The man she built a business empire for. The man who'd been planning to throw her away like she was nothing. Now, she said, you learn what it costs to underestimate Destiny Rivers. Monday morning, Harold left for work like normal, but Destiny could see the fear in his eyes. He knew she was planning something, but he had no idea what. What Harold didn't know was that Destiny had spent the weekend making phone calls. Very important phone calls. The first call had been to Marcus Chen at Pacific Construction. Marcus, this is Destiny Rivers. I need a favor. Mrs. Rivers. Anything for you. You saved our company. I need you to call Harold Rivers Construction and cancel your contract with them. Effective immediately. Done. Can I ask why? Personal reasons. But Marcus? I'll have a new recommendation for you by tomorrow. Someone better. The second call had been to Janet Morrison at Morrison Development. Janet, it's Destiny. I need to talk to you about Harold Rivers Construction. What's wrong? Are they not performing? They're about to face some serious management changes. I'd suggest finding a new contractor for your upcoming projects. Destiny, you know I trust your judgment completely. Consider it done. By Monday afternoon, Harold had lost 3 major contracts worth over $2 million. He came home early, his face pale and confused. Destiny, something weird is happening, he said, pacing around their kitchen while she helped Grace with homework. 3 of our biggest clients canceled their contracts today. All of them said they were going with other companies. That's terrible, Destiny said, keeping her voice neutral. Do you know why? They wouldn't say. Morrison Development was supposed to be our biggest project this year. Janet Morrison just said they'd decided to go in a different direction. Grace looked up from her math worksheet. Daddy, what's a contract? It's like a promise between companies, baby girl, Harold explained, though his mind was clearly elsewhere. When someone breaks a contract, it costs a lot of money. Did you break a promise, Daddy? The innocent question hit Harold like a physical blow. Destiny watched him struggle to answer his daughter while knowing that he'd broken the biggest promise of his life. It's complicated, Grace, he said finally. That evening, Harold got a phone call that made him turn even paler. Destiny pretended to read her book while listening to his side of the conversation. What do you mean they want their equipment back? Harold was saying. We're leasing that equipment. What? They're terminating the lease early? Destiny knew exactly what was happening. Patterson Equipment Leasing was another one of her clients. She'd helped them restructure their business model last year, and the owner considered her a close friend. There has to be some mistake, Harold continued into the phone. We've never been late on payments. What do you mean, due to changes in our business assessment? When Harold hung up, he slumped at their kitchen table. Destiny, I don't understand what's happening. It's like someone's trying to destroy my business. Maybe it's just bad timing, Destiny suggested gently. All in the same week? 3 contract cancellations and an equipment lease termination? This doesn't feel like coincidence. Harold was right, of course. It wasn't coincidence. It was Destiny systematically dismantling the business network she'd spent years building for him. The next morning, Ruby Patterson called while Harold was in the shower. Girl, I heard through the grapevine that Harold's business is having problems, Ruby said. Ruby had been Destiny's best friend since college, and she was one of the few people who knew the whole truth about Destiny's secret business empire. Word travels fast, Destiny replied. Destiny, are you really going to destroy everything you built? I'm not destroying anything, Ruby. I'm just taking back what's mine. And Harold? Destiny sighed. Harold made his choice. He chose to lie to me, steal from our family, and plan to abandon Grace. I'm just making sure he understands the consequences. What about Grace? This is going to affect her too. Grace is going to be fine, Destiny said firmly. Better than fine. She's going to see her mother stand up for herself and build something amazing. She's going to learn that you don't let people walk all over you, even people you love. I'm proud of you, Ruby said quietly. It's about time Harold learned who he married. Wednesday evening, Harold got the call that broke him completely. Destiny, he shouted from the living room. We need to talk. Now. Grace was at Ruby's house for a sleepover, so Destiny knew this conversation was going to be ugly. The bank called, Harold said, his voice shaking with rage. They want to review our business loan. They're questioning whether I have adequate financial management for the amount we've borrowed. Destiny nodded calmly. That sounds serious. Serious? Destiny, if they call in our loan, I'll lose everything. The business, the house, all of it. That would be terrible, Destiny agreed. Harold stared at her. You don't seem surprised. Should I be surprised? Destiny, what did you do? She looked at her husband, the man who'd shared her bed for 12 years while planning to betray her, and felt nothing but sadness for what they'd lost. Harold, when you decided to have an affair, did you think about the consequences? What does that have to do with anything? When you decided to steal money from our family accounts, did you think about what might happen if I found out? Harold's eyes went wide. How do you? When you decided to plan a divorce where you'd take everything and leave Grace and me with nothing, did you think about whether I might have my own plans? Harold sank onto their couch. You're destroying my business. I built your business, Destiny said quietly. Every success you've had came from my work. Every contract you've won came from my strategies. Every dollar you've made came from my financial planning. That's not true. Destiny walked to their home office and returned with a box full of files. She dumped them on the coffee table in front of Harold. Financial projections for the Morrison project, written by me. Market research for the housing development, completed by me. The bid strategy that won you the Patterson contract, designed by me. The tax planning that saved you $200,000 last year, all me. Harold stared at the papers, his face growing more shocked with each document. For 12 years, I've been your secret business partner, Destiny continued. I've been the brain behind every decision you've made. And you've been taking all the credit while thinking I was too simple to understand what was happening. I never said you were simple. You said it to Candace. 3 weeks ago at 2:17 a.m. while lying in our bed. You told her I was too stupid to notice what was going on. Harold's face crumpled. Destiny, I'm sorry. I made a terrible mistake. You made a choice. And now you're going to live with the consequences. What are you going to do? Destiny looked at the man she'd loved and supported and built up for over a decade. The man who'd been ready to throw her away for a younger woman. The man who'd been stealing from their family while she worked herself exhausted to make him successful. I'm going to take care of Grace and myself, she said. I'm going to build my own life with my own success. And Harold. What? I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who's been running Harold Rivers Construction all these years. Harold's phone buzzed. He looked down and saw a text from Candace. Baby, I'm so excited about our future together. Can't wait to start spending some of that business money. When he looked back up, Destiny was holding her own phone, and Harold realized with horror that she'd been recording their entire conversation. Game over, Harold, she said softly. You just never knew we were playing. 6 months later, Destiny stood in her new downtown office, looking out at the city skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. The space was 3 times larger than her old office, with room for 20 employees and a conference room where she could meet with major clients. "Mrs. Rivers?" Patricia called from the doorway. "Your 3 o'clock appointment is here." "Send him in," Destiny replied, smoothing down her navy blue dress. She'd been shopping for new clothes lately, professional outfits that made her feel powerful and confident. No more hiding her success. The man who walked into her office was tall and distinguished, with kind eyes and graying temples. Dr. Marcus Thompson, Elder Thompson's youngest son, was a successful architect who specialized in sustainable building design. "Mrs. Rivers," he said, shaking her hand warmly. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Please call me Destiny. And thank you for considering Rivers Financial for your expansion project." Marcus had started his own architectural firm 5 years ago, and his business was growing rapidly. He needed financial consulting to help manage several large projects, and Elder Thompson had recommended Destiny. "Your reputation speaks for itself," Marcus said, settling into the chair across from her desk. "I've heard about the work you did for Pacific Construction. Impressive." "Thank you. I love helping businesses reach their full potential." As they discussed Marcus's needs for financial planning and project management, Destiny found herself genuinely excited about the work. This was what she'd always wanted, using her skills to build something meaningful, working with people who respected her intelligence and valued her contributions. "There's one more thing," Marcus said as their meeting wrapped up. "My father mentioned that you have a daughter?" Destiny smiled. "Grace. She's 8. I have a daughter too. 12-year-old named Hope. Maybe they could meet sometime if you're comfortable with that." Something warm fluttered in Destiny's chest. Marcus wasn't just talking about business. But after Harold's betrayal, the idea of trusting another man felt scary. "I'd like that," Destiny said carefully. Grace could always use more friends. That evening, Destiny picked up Grace from Ruby's house, where she'd been staying after school while Destiny worked late. "Mama?" Grace ran to her with a huge smile. "Miss Ruby taught me how to braid hair. Look." Grace had managed to braid a small section of her own hair, though it was crooked and lumpy. Destiny's heart swelled with pride at her daughter's determination. "That's beautiful, baby girl. You're getting so good with your hands." Miss Ruby said, "I have steady fingers like you do when you work on your computer." As they drove to their new apartment, Grace chattered about her day at school. The divorce had been finalized 2 months ago, and Grace was adjusting better than Destiny had expected. They'd had to sell the big house, but their new place was in a better school district, and Grace loved having her own room with purple walls. "Mama," Grace said as they pulled into their parking space, "I have a question." "What's that? Are you happier now?" The question caught Destiny off guard. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Before, when we lived in the old house, you looked sad a lot. Even when you smiled. But now you look happy even when you're tired." Destiny parked the car and turned to face her daughter. Grace's dark eyes were serious and knowing, far too wise for an 8-year-old. "You know what, Grace? I am happier. I'm proud of myself for working hard and taking care of us. And I'm proud of you for being so brave during all these changes." "I'm proud of you too, Mama. Miss Ruby says you're the strongest woman she knows." That night, after Grace went to bed, Destiny sat on her couch reviewing contracts for her newest clients. Business was booming. Word had gotten out about the brilliant financial consultant who'd been secretly running successful companies for years. Her phone rang and she was surprised to see Harold's name on the screen. "Hello, Harold." "Destiny," his voice sounded tired and defeated. "Can we talk?" "What about?" "I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. I know I hurt you and Grace badly, and I know saying sorry doesn't fix anything, but I needed you to know that I understand now." Destiny set down her papers. "Understand what?" "How much you did. How much I took for granted. The business is gone, Destiny. I lost everything because I didn't realize that you were the real force behind it all." "I'm sorry to hear that," Destiny said, and she meant it. She'd never wanted Harold to fail completely, she just wanted him to understand the consequences of his choices. "Candace left me," Harold continued. "When the money ran out, she decided I wasn't what she wanted after all." Destiny wasn't surprised. A woman who would pursue a married man for his money wasn't likely to stick around when times got tough. "Harold, why are you calling me?" "Because I want you to know that you were right. About everything. You were the smart one, the strong one, the one who built our success. And I was too proud and too stupid to see it." "Thank you for saying that," Destiny replied. But Harold, I didn't leave because you didn't appreciate me enough. I left because you lied to me, betrayed our family, and tried to steal from Grace and me. I know. And I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Grace misses you, Destiny said gently. She asks about you. Can I see her? Maybe take her for ice cream this weekend? Destiny considered this. Despite everything Harold had done to her, Grace still loved her father. And Destiny believed that Grace deserved to have a relationship with both her parents. You can see her, Destiny said. But Harold, if you ever lie to her or let her down the way you let me down, there won't be any second chances. I understand. Thank you, Destiny. For everything. For all the years you supported me and for being better to me now than I deserve. After Harold hung up, Destiny felt something she hadn't expected: peace. Not forgiveness exactly, but an understanding that this chapter of her life was truly over. 3 weeks later, Destiny sat in Sunshine Cafe with Marcus, watching Grace and Hope play together at a nearby table. The girls had hit it off immediately, and Hope had taken Grace under her wing like a protective big sister. Grace seems happy, Marcus observed, sipping his coffee. She is. It's been a big adjustment, but she's resilient. Kids are amazing that way. Hope went through her own difficult time when her mother and I divorced 5 years ago. But she's stronger for it now. Destiny studied Marcus's face. He had laugh lines around his eyes and a calm presence that made her feel safe. Marcus, can I ask you something? Anything. When you went through your divorce, how did you know when you were ready to trust someone new? Marcus set down his coffee and looked directly at her. When I met someone who made me remember that not all relationships are about power games and lies. When I found someone who was building their own life instead of trying to take from mine. Their eyes met across the table, and Destiny felt something she hadn't experienced in years, the possibility of real partnership. Not the one-sided arrangement she'd had with Harold, but true equality with someone who valued her intelligence and strength. Grace. Hope called from their table. Your mama is smiling at my daddy. Both adults laughed, and Destiny felt her cheeks warm with embarrassment. Kids notice everything, Marcus said with a grin. Everything, Destiny agreed. 6 months later, Rivers Financial Consulting had grown to become the most successful financial consulting firm in the state. Destiny had hired 15 employees, opened a second office, and was being featured in business magazines as an example of entrepreneurial success. But the best moment came on a Thursday evening when Grace ran into their apartment with a school paper in her hand. Mama, look what I got. It was an essay Grace had written titled, My Hero. Destiny's eyes filled with tears as she read her daughter's words. My hero is my mama because she is the smartest person I know. She helps companies make money and she built her own business. When things got hard, she didn't give up. She worked harder. She taught me that you have to stand up for yourself and that being smart is the best thing you can be. My mama shows me that women can do anything they want if they work hard and believe in themselves. She is my hero because she saved us and made us a better life. I want to be just like her when I grow up. Destiny hugged Grace tight, breathing in the coconut oil scent of her daughter's hair. You already are like me, baby girl, she whispered. You're strong and smart and brave. You can be anything you want to be. That night, after Grace was asleep, Destiny stood in her home office looking at the framed business articles on her wall. Articles that featured her name, her picture, her success. No more hiding behind someone else's achievements. No more letting others take credit for her work. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Hope wants to know if you and Grace want to come to her school play next Friday. I'd love to have you both there. Destiny smiled as she typed back, we'd be honored to come. As she got ready for bed, Destiny thought about the woman she'd been a year ago, hiding her intelligence, minimizing her success, letting Harold take credit for her work because she thought that's what love looked like. Now she knew better. Real love didn't require her to make herself smaller. Real partnership meant lifting each other up, not tearing each other down. Harold and Candace had thought they'd won when they planned their betrayal. They thought they were outsmarting a naive woman who would never see them coming. But they'd underestimated Destiny Rivers. They'd forgotten that the quiet woman who worked from her kitchen table had a business degree from Howard University. They'd ignored the fact that the woman who let Harold take credit for her ideas was actually a brilliant strategist who was always 10 steps ahead. Most importantly, they'd failed to realize that a woman who could build one business empire could certainly build another, this time for herself and her daughter. As Destiny turned off her lights, she smiled thinking about Grace's essay. Her daughter would grow up knowing that women were smart, strong, and capable of anything. Grace would never have to hide her intelligence or downplay her achievements to make someone else feel better. Harold had taught Destiny what she wouldn't accept. Marcus was showing her what she deserved. And Grace was reminding her every day of what she was fighting for. The secret helper had finally stepped out of the shadows and into the light. And the future looked brighter than Destiny had ever imagined possible. Harold and Candace thought they'd broken her. Instead, they'd set her free. And Destiny Rivers was just getting started.